In Psalm 82:6, God's statement, "I called you gods," was directed at human Israelite judges from the days of King David and Asaph. See my related videos? Hundreds of years earlier, in Exodus 21:6, Exodus 22:8, and Exodus 22:9, God had referred to Sinai-era Israelite judges as Elohim, gods. And then, in the days of the writing of Psalm 82:6, God referred back to his earlier statement, having referred to Israelite judges as gods, Elohim. But some proponents of divine counsel theory might think that they have found a loophole here. In the light of the fact that it was hundreds of years earlier when God called Israelite judges Elohim, how can we say that God said that Israelite judges in King David's day were gods? A proponent of divine counsel theory might say, yes, God did say that Sinai-era Israelite judges were gods, but Psalm 82:6 was spoken to gods, Elohim judges, from King David's day, and those Elohim were not spoken to in the Sinai era. So the question here is, could God have addressed Sinai-era Israelite judges and then indicate that that statement also eventually applied to Israelite judges from King David's day? Let the scriptures answer that question. And let's start with Psalm chapter 81. Psalm 81:10, "I am the Lord your God who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." Think about it. Psalm 81:10 was spoken to Israelites from King David's day, hundreds of years after the Exodus. The Israelites from King David's day were not yet born when God led the Sinai-era Israelites out of Egypt. However, the Israelites from King David's day were Israelites indeed. And in Psalm 81:10, God lumped Israelites from King David's day into the larger encompassing definition of Israelites, and that standard meant that it could be said in context that Israelites from King David's day were led out of Egypt. In other words, they were Israelites, the basic group that God led out of Egypt. Psalm chapter 81 is like Psalm chapter 82. And there are some other verses. Amos 2:10 was written in approximately 760 BC, which was nearly 700 years after the Exodus, but carefully listen to what God said in Amos 2:10. "I brought you up out of Egypt and led you 40 years in the wilderness." And MICAH 6:4 was written several decades after Amos 2:10 was written. MICAH 6:4, "I brought you out of Egypt and redeemed you from slavery. I sent Moses, Aaron, and Miriam to help you." The phraseology that God used in Micah 6:4 can sound like a statement that was made to the Israelites who were actually alive at the time of the Exodus. But in Micah 6:4, God was actually lumping Israelites from Micah's day into the larger encompassing definition of Israelites. And that standard meant that it could be said in context that Israelites from Micah's day were led out of Egypt. Psalm 82:6 is the same. God had referred to Sinai-era Israelite judges as gods, Elohim, and the human Israelite judges of King David's day were lumped in with that same group, Israelite judges. They were gods, Elohim, but they were human Elohim, not divine Elohim. Divine council theory is a false doctrine that Jesus, the Messiah, has conquered and exposed. All glory to Jesus, the Messiah.